The Cavalier is back, and it's almost exactly the same. Stay tuned for some ideas on how to fix it. Hello everyone, and welcome to Arcana Indexed. Here, each week, we are taking a deep dive into one piece of Unearthed Arcana released for Dungeons & Dragons 5.5. Usually, we're talking about a subclass or two, but sometimes we're going over spells or full classes. Today, we're talking about the quintessential mounted knight in shining armor, the Cavalier Fighter. Except, there isn't anything here that actually lends itself to being mounted. Well, that's not entirely true. There is one feature, but it's super niche, and it almost never comes up. All that being said, let's take a look at what we have so far, and then we'll get into how to fix it to better fit both the mechanics and the flavor. First up, let's take a look at the flavor text from the document. It says, Cavaliers excel at mounted combat and guard those in their charge, often protecting their superiors and the weak. The Cavalier is equally at home leading a cavalry charge or exchanging repartees at a state dinner. I've heard some discussion about this, and I don't necessarily agree, but it should be said that the Paladin, with their found steed, already fills this fantasy. But I do like the idea of having this archetype filled by a non-spellcaster. At level 3, we get 3 features. First up is bonus proficiency. This says, you gain proficiency in one of the following skills of your choice: animal handling, history, insight, performance, or persuasion. Alternatively, you learn one language of your choice. This is a solid ribbon feature. For those that don't know, a ribbon feature is one that is often more flavor focused. Much like a ribbon on a wrapped gift, while it doesn't add to the content of the package, it does make the presentation feel better. Ribbons usually add a skill proficiency, languages, or other roleplay focused things. Some good examples of this are the feature we just talked about, and the Rune Knight fighter, who at level 7 gets to add 2d4 inches to their character's height. Fun, flavorful features, but things that you will often go entire campaigns, and may be relevant once or twice. Often, classes or subclasses get 1 or 2 of these features to help with the flavor of fantasy. Also at this level, we get Born to the Saddle. Surely this is the feature that will make us the mounted knight we are looking for. It says, you have advantage on saving throws made to avoid falling off your mount. If you fall off your mount and descend no more than 10 feet, you can land on your feet if you don't have the incapacitated condition. In addition, mounting or dismounting a creature costs you only 5 feet of movement rather than half your speed. Cool, so another ribbon feature. Saving throws made to fall off your mount are triggered by one thing in the game. That is when your mount is moved against its will, and it's a DC 10 strength saving throw. As a fighter, you are already proficient in strength saves, and since so many of the features here rely on melee attacks, you likely will have a decent strength score, meaning it's probably never going to come up. The real feature we get at level 3 is Unwavering Mark. This says, you can menace your foes, foiling their attacks and punishing them for harming others. When you hit a creature with a melee weapon, you can mark the creature until the end of your next turn. This effect ends early if you have the incapacitated condition, you die, or someone else marks the creature. While it's within 5 feet of you, a creature marked by you has disadvantage on attack rolls against creatures other than you. In addition, if a creature marked by you hits a creature other than you with an attack roll, you have advantage on attack rolls against the marked creature until the end of your next turn. This is a solid tanking feature. In the 2014 rules, this was a limited use feature. Now it's not. This is a great change. Not a lot to say about it, except that if you compare it to other fighter subclasses, Battle Masters, Eldritch Knights, Psy Warriors, even Champions now get a lot more than one slightly relevant feature at level 3. So it's good, but doesn't go far enough in my opinion. At level 7, we get Warding Maneuver. This tells us you learn to fend off strikes directed at you, your mount, or other creatures nearby. If you or a creature you can see within 5 feet of you is hit by an attack roll, you can roll 1d8 as a reaction if you're wielding a melee weapon or a shield, roll the die, and add the number rolled to the target's AC against the triggering attack. If the attack still hits, the target has resistance against the attack's damage. You can use this feature a number of times equal to your Constitution modifier, minimum of once, and you regain all expended uses when you finish a long rest. This is an interesting defensive feature, but if you think you're going to be able to save your mount with this feature, maybe think again. If you have a warhorse, the best common mount available, you are looking at an AC of 11 and 19 hit points. So adding an average of 4.5 makes it 15 even with disadvantage, and maybe with the resistance, it's going to give you 2 hits to fully take out your mount at this level, and that only gets worse with higher levels. So if we had a mount with a little bit more survivability by itself, this might actually be a decent feature. But if we're not mounted, it's honestly a fine feature. It's not as good of a reaction as Defensive Duelist, but it can work to protect allies as well. So it's a solid reaction. It's pretty limited in how often you can use it though. I don't think having more uses of this feature would make it broken or overpowered. At level 10, we get Hold the Line. This says, creatures provoke an opportunity attack from you when they move 5 feet or more while within your reach. When you hit a creature with an opportunity attack, the target speed becomes 0 until the end of the current turn. This is a good Sentinel-like effect. If you're a DM, please don't metagame this. For most combats, I don't think it's metagaming for a combatant to know that leaving your range provokes opportunity attacks. But moving within your reach shouldn't. So if there's someone who, tactically, it makes sense to move within the character's reach, do so, and let your Cavalier use this feature. This is a cool feature, but it's absolutely not breaking anything in your game. From a player character's perspective though, this is another feature that's competing for your reaction with your level 7 feature. It's still a good ability though. At level 15, we get Ferocious Charger. This says, during the first round of each combat, you and your mount's speed increases by 10 feet, and your movement doesn't provoke opportunity attacks for that round. When you move within 5 feet of a creature this round, that creature must succeed on a strength saving throw, DC 8 plus your strength modifier and proficiency bonus, or you either push it 5 feet away or cause it to have the prone condition. A creature makes this save only once during a turn. This is a solid feature, but if you're not mounted, it's a lot harder to use. A movement speed of 40 isn't crazy. Strength isn't the worst kind of save to target, but at level 15, it's still a strong save on most monsters. At level 18, we get our Capstone. This is actually a pretty solid feature. It says, in combat, you get a special reaction you can use once on every creature's turn except your turn. You can take this reaction only to make an opportunity attack, and you can't take it on the same turn that you take your normal reaction. This is a great feature that has really good synergy with the level 10 feature. Overall, it's not a terrible subclass, but definitely feels weaker than the player handbook subclasses. Normally, I would suggest a couple tweaks here and there to make it up to par. I could still do that. At level 3, just say you can't be knocked off your mount against your will. Make the level 7 feature not have a limited use. At the 15th level feature, instead of adding 10 feet of movement, just double it. Just doing these little tweaks would bring up the power level slightly, and it might be enough. My biggest issue with this subclass falls back to it failing at the biggest flavor selling point, that of being a mounted knight. Now, one interesting thing that Wizards of the Coast said recently, when they released the survey results for the original Unearthed Arcana Purple Dragon Knight, they said, fighters don't want pets, or pet subclasses. Now, to be fair, I obviously don't have access to the surveys, but I'd imagine that it's not necessarily that people who play fighters don't want pets, just that people who play Purple Dragon Knights don't want a pet dragon. And that's strictly for lore reasons. But if there's a subclass that would benefit from a pet, it would be this one. Give the Cavalier a way to use a mount built into the subclass. If you're a DM, of course, feel free to homebrew a stat block, and for advice, I'd look at the Battlesmith Artificer or the Drake Warden Ranger for inspiration. If you just want a few features and a stat block to work off of, here was my quick stab at it. Starting at level 7, you can conduct a 10-minute ritual to summon a mount that is bound to you. At the conclusion of the ritual, it appears in a space you can see within 30 feet. You determine its appearance, but it uses the accompanying stat block. In combat, it acts as a controlled mount. It shares your initiative, but takes its turn immediately following yours. It takes only the dash or dodge action. If you are incapacitated, it can act and take actions as normal. The mount remains until it is reduced to 0 hit points, you dismiss it as an action, or you use this feature to summon another mount. Once you use this feature, you can't do so again until you finish a long rest. You can refresh your use of this feature by expending 1 use of your second win, no action required. Looking at the stat block, we have an armor class of 14 plus your proficiency bonus, so starting at 16, and eventually making its way up to 20 by 17th level. It has 5 plus 5 times your fighter level hit points and a speed of 40 feet. It's proficient in strength and wisdom saving throws. Its damage scales with your proficiency bonus, but it won't be able to attack unless you are incapacitated. The reaction it has is a solid defensive feature that will be a decent means of keeping you and your mount alive. It doesn't replace things like the mountain combatant feat, but will still feel relevant and even have great synergy with that feat. I'd also add a feature at level 15 that gives your mount a fly speed of 50 feet. Adding this feature will truly make the character feel like a Cavalier. Giving the mounted warrior a mount is something that will just add to the flavor. However, mechanically, it doesn't add that much to your character beyond some increased movement speed and not having to constantly be buying war horses. It synergizes well with the other class features and just provides enough of a mechanical benefit to bring the subclass up to par with the player's handbook fighters. Well, this has been my take on the Cavalier Fighter that was released in the Subclasses Updated 2025 Unearthed Arcana playtest document. If you want to see more coverage of the Unearthed Arcana playtest documents, subscribe to the channel, and next Monday we'll keep working our way through the latest playtest. That will be our deep dive into the Warrior of Intoxication Monk and the Oathbreaker Paladin. If you enjoyed this video, please consider liking the video, and if there are any other subclasses you want me to cover, let me know in the comments below. Thanks so much for stopping by, and until next time. While it is within 5 feet of you, a marked creature... While it's within 5 feet of you, a marked creature... Oh, no. There we go. While it's within... Okay.